The courtroom was filled with whispers as Emily, a young woman 8 months pregnant, sat trembling on the witness chair. Her soft brown hair was tied back and her eyes were swollen from nights of crying. Across the room stood her husband, Daniel, and her sister, Claire, whispering to each other as if they shared a secret she wasn't supposed to know. The atmosphere was thick with judgment. Every eye in the room seemed to pierce her. Emily had been accused of betrayal, of lies, but deep down she knew the truth would come even if no one believed her now. The judge, a stern man in his 50s, observed in silence as the tension built. Daniel had once been a man of warmth and devotion, but months of deception had turned him cold. Claire, Emily's own sister, stood proudly beside him, acting as if she had won something. They claimed Emily's baby wasn't Daniel's, that she had cheated. The humiliation was unbearable. People in the gallery whispered cruel things. Emily clutched her stomach protectively, feeling the tiny movements of her unborn child, as if the baby could sense her pain. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but she held her head high, determined not to break. The lawyer for Daniel spoke harshly, painting Emily as manipulative and dishonest. Every word stabbed her heart. Claire smirked, glancing at Daniel, pretending to be the victim of her sister's supposed betrayal. Emily's lawyer, a kind elderly woman named Mrs. Jenkins, stood up to defend her, presenting evidence and pleading for compassion. But the opposing side laughed, waving documents and false claims. The judge listened, expressionless, as if waiting for something more, something deeper. Then came the breaking point.
Claire stepped forward, pretending to cry.
"Your Honor," she said dramatically, "my sister deceived us all. She told everyone this baby belonged to Daniel, but she was meeting another man in secret." Emily's heart sank. She wanted to scream, to tell the world the truth, that it was Claire who had been having an affair with Daniel, not her. But she had no proof, only pain. The courtroom fell silent, the tension so heavy that even the judge's gavel paused mid-air. As Daniel testified, his words cut deeper than any knife. "I can't trust her anymore," he said coldly. "She ruined our family." Emily's breathing grew heavy, her body trembling. But before she could speak, the judge raised his hand. "Enough," he said. His tone was calm but commanding. He had seen too many lies in his courtroom, and something in Claire's body language bothered him. He leaned forward, eyes sharp, studying both sisters closely. "There's more to this story," he murmured. Moments later, the judge called for a brief recess, then returned with a file in hand. He turned to Daniel. "Mr. Miller, did you know your wife's medical records were recently altered?" Daniel looked confused. "What?" he asked. The judge continued. "According to the hospital, your wife's pregnancy was documented before the affair Claire claims took place, meaning the child could not belong to anyone else but you." Gasps filled the room. Emily looked up, stunned. Claire's face went pale, her lips trembling. The judge slammed his gavel, his voice thundering. "I will not allow this courtroom to be a place of deceit. Claire, you and Mr. Daniel have both lied under oath." The spectators erupted in shock. Daniel tried to speak, but the judge silenced him. "You accused an innocent woman, a mother-to-be, to hide your own guilt." His words echoed through the courtroom like thunder. Emily covered her mouth, tears flowing freely now, but this time from relief, not pain. Claire broke down crying, her lies collapsing under the weight of truth. "I loved him," she shouted, pointing at Daniel. "I didn't mean to hurt her." Daniel lowered his head in shame. The judge's tone softened as he turned to Emily. "Mrs. Miller, I am deeply sorry for what you've endured. You were betrayed by the two people who should have protected you most." The audience stood silent, watching a woman who had been crushed now rise in quiet strength. Emily stood, her hand on her stomach, feeling her baby's heartbeat. "I forgive them," she whispered, though her eyes glistened with tears. "Not for them, but for my child." The judge nodded respectfully. Claire was escorted out of the courtroom in tears, while Daniel remained frozen, realizing the enormity of what he had done. The entire courtroom watched in awe as Emily, fragile yet fierce, walked out with dignity, her head held high. Outside the courthouse, sunlight broke through the clouds, warming Emily's face. For the first time in months, she felt peace. A reporter approached, but she simply smiled and said, "The truth always finds its way." As she walked down the marble steps, a stranger offered her an umbrella and a kind smile, The world finally seemed gentle again. The story of the pregnant woman humiliated in court had become one of courage, forgiveness, and justice. And deep inside her, the baby kicked, a sign of new beginnings after so much pain. Weeks later, Emily sat by the window of her small new apartment, gazing at the sunrise with her newborn son asleep in her arms. The world outside was quiet, peaceful, so different from the storm she had endured. The trial had changed her life forever. Daniel and Claire had both faced consequences for perjury, and though Emily's heart still carried scars, she had found strength she never knew she possessed. The judge had written her a personal letter afterward saying, "Truth has a way of shining through darkness. You are proof of that." Those words stayed with her, echoing every time she looked into her child's innocent eyes. She whispered softly, "We made it, my love." The baby stirred, his tiny hand wrapping around her finger as if to promise her a future filled with warmth, not pain. Outside, the first light of dawn painted the city gold, and Emily smiled, no longer the broken woman in court, but a mother reborn through truth and courage. Months passed, and Emily began working at a local law firm, the same one that had once represented her during the trial. Her dedication and quiet resilience caught everyone's attention. She didn't just draft documents or file cases, she listened to people, especially women who had faced betrayal or injustice. Her experience gave her empathy that no degree could teach. One afternoon, the judge who had defended her truth visited the firm for a seminar. When their eyes met, both shared a knowing smile, a silent acknowledgement of the storm they had weathered together. "You've turned your pain into purpose," he told her gently. Emily nodded, feeling the weight of his words. Every late night, every tear, every heartbreak had brought her to this point. Her son, now a bright-eyed toddler, would visit her office sometimes, running through the halls as laughter replaced the echoes of her past. She realized then that life had not ended in that courtroom. It had just begun, written by her own courage. One chilly evening, as the golden light of sunset spilled across Emily's desk, her phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. Hesitant, she answered, and froze when she heard her sister Lily's trembling voice. "Emily's, I need help." For a moment her breath caught. Memories of betrayal, humiliation, and heartbreak surged like a storm. But behind Lily's voice was a tone Emily hadn't heard before. Fear, not arrogance. "They left me, Emily. He took everything, the money, the house. I have nowhere to go." Silence filled the air. Emily stared at the framed photo of her son, then slowly exhaled. The judge's words echoed in her mind. Compassion is not weakness, it's strength. Against every instinct, she said softly, "Come to my house. We'll talk." Hours later, when Lily arrived, frail, eyes swollen, pride gone, Emily didn't shout or gloat. Instead, she opened the door wide and simply said, "You're home." Tears spilled down Lily's face as she whispered, "I'm so sorry." That night, two sisters sat at the same table again, not as enemies, but as survivors of their own mistakes, quietly rebuilding what had once been lost. The next morning, the sound of birds and the aroma of coffee filled Emily's home, a peace she hadn't felt in years. Lily sat across the table, hands trembling as she tried to speak. "Emily," she began, her voice breaking, "I didn't just betray you. I was manipulated. Daniel told me you were cheating first, that you didn't love him, that he and I could start new. I was foolish, blinded by the lies he fed me." Emily listened quietly, her eyes unreadable, her heart heavy but calm. "And when I realized the truth," Lily continued, "he had already taken everything and left me with nothing. He used me to hurt you." Tears streamed down her face, but this time Emily's expression softened. "I know what it's like to trust the wrong person," she said gently. "But we can't let that pain define us forever." At that moment, Lily realized the depth of her sister's strength, not in wealth or success, but in her capacity to forgive. Later that week, the news broke that Daniel had been arrested for fraud and perjury. Justice, slow but certain, had finally come. Emily stood at her window, the morning sun warming her face, and whispered to herself, "Some truths don't need a courtroom to shine. They reveal themselves in time."